तत्परम्पर्याय विद्महे ज्ञानलिङ्गेश्वराय धीमहि तन्नो गुरुः प्रचोदयाते। ॐ योगमहर्षि डॉक्टर स्वामी गीतानंद गिरि गुरु महाराज की जय। नमस्ते, वणक्कम, स्वागतम, bonjour, buongiorno, buonasera, goeiemorgen, boreida, kia ora, salamat pagi, ayubowan. Welcome to today's session. A session that is dedicated to Ammaji as part of her 78th birthday celebrations that we are commemorating on Monday. And bringing out the concept of Mother as God. Matru Devo Bhava. Our scriptures give us the understanding of how we can perceive different people in our life as manifestations of the divine. And it always starts off with Matru Devo Bhava. Mother is the personification of the divine. Pitru Devo Bhava. The father is a personification of the divine. Acharya Devo Bhava. The teacher, the guru, the one who enables us to grow in spirit, is a manifestation of the divine. And there's always the Aditi Devo Bhava, the guest is God. And I think the last one was put in because whenever people turn up unannounced, you get a bit irritated. So if you think that, well, it's God who has come unannounced, it's a bit easier on the mental health of everyone. Divinity manifests through each and every being. There is no being that is not a manifestation of the divine. Yet the closest relationship is the one that every living being has with its mother. Because, well, unless you are a penguin in the Antarctic and then, the father has to sit on the egg until it hatches, most species, the father's role is primarily to provide the sperm and then later on in life help guide that living being as best they can. But the mother's role is a role that goes much, much deeper. Because your mother, none of us are here without a mother, okay? Our mother is the being in whom we developed. The sperm and the ova, they come together, the zygote, the blastula, the morula, finally the embryo is seated in the mother's womb. The mother's womb, the yoni, is the manifestation of the Akasha Tattva. Akasha Tattva relates to space. Now this space doesn't mean the outer space as when you go beyond the Earth's atmosphere. We often translate it as sky, we often translate it as ether and the ethereal element. But the best understanding of Akash is as space, because without space, creation and manifestation cannot occur. In order for something to be created, first there must be space. It is in that space that then the manifestation of the creation can occur. This is why when Purusha and Prakriti come together and they want to manifest, the first of the tattvas is Akasha Tattva. From Akasha Tattva has to come down the rest of the other four elements. When we talk about the Panchamahabhuta, there has to be space for something to be created and for something to manifest. So the mother's womb, the yoni, is the space in which the new creation, the new life form is getting an opportunity to grow. Because growth and development again needs space. If you want something to grow, give it space. If you want something to blossom, give it space. And that is why one of the most important qualities of giving space is love. True love, unconditional love, gives space. Gives space which gives freedom. Because Akasha Tattva is where the particles have the highest degree of freedom to be themselves. That Akasha Tattva is the womb of the mother. And this is why when we talk about the universe and the mother who creates the universe, we always sing Jagat Janani Jaganmada Adi Parashakti Palayamam Adi Parashakti Palayamam Adi Parashakti Palayamam, and then different forms. Madurai Meenakshi Palayamam Kanchi Kamakshi Palayamam Agilandeshwari Palayamam Kashi Vishalakshi Palayamam Tillai Abhirami Palayamam Tillai Sivagami Palayamam Annai Abhirami Palayamam Jagat Janani, the whole Jagat, the whole universe, the one who creates and sustains and nourishes and gives space for the growth and development and manifestation, is the goddess herself. Jagat Janani. Jananam is to give birth. Ja refers to give birth. Jananam is the process of birthing. The one who gives it is Janani, feminine. And this is because the space, the Akasha Tattva is there. Every living being is nourished in the womb of the mother. And through that is given space to grow in a natural way. And the relationship is built as a human being for 9 months. Some creatures shorter, some creatures longer. Elephants have a longer gestation. The blue whale has a very long gestation. You know, the process of gestation, when we are in our mother's womb, in the case of human beings, we talk about the 10 months when we talk about it in Tamil, because we count even the bit of the month in it, 10 lunar months. One lunar month is 28 days, so 280 days is 10 months. 10 lunar months, 9 months we talk about it. That is a period of time where the bonding begins. The bonding begins between the mother and the child. This bonding between the mother and child is then given an opportunity to grow further. Because at least for the first 5 years of one's life, the contribution of the mother in a child's growth and development can never be understated. It is so amazing, so amazing, so amazing. Matru Devo Bhava. when we realize that we have been given life, the gift of life, and the one who has enabled us to manifest this gift of life is the mother. At that point, great gratitude and love comes. And when we talk about unconditional love, when we talk about the capacity to love in a selfless manner, the maternal principle comes to mind. And this is why our ancients started off Matru Devo Bhava, then Pitru Devo Bhava, then Acharya Devo Bhava, and Atiti Devo Bhava. In our culture, often so many of the great humans who have incarnated are referred to by the maternal linkage. Anjani Putra Hanuman. Anjani Putra Hanuman. Kausalya Supraja Ramachandra Kausalya Supraja, to be birthed. Kaunteya, the son of Kunti. Kaunteya. Devaki Nandana Yashoda Nandana for Krishna. And the role, especially with Yashoda, Krishna never showed the universe to his father, either it be Vasudeva or Nanda. He opened his mouth and showed the universe to his mother because he realized she would be able to understand that perspective. Similarly, if you talk about Prahalada, why did Prahalada become the great Bhakta he was? Because in his mother's womb he was exposed to the divine teachings of Namo Narayana. We talk about the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, who, because of his mother having been in a certain holy sacred space during his time in her womb, was enabling himself to manifest that highest buddhi and become the Buddha. What beautiful concepts linking the importance of the maternal principle. Even all the gods, the Adityas, according to Vedic tradition, they are born of Aditi. Aditi is the mother of the gods. She is the first of the gods because she is the mother of all the gods. That's why they are called the Adityas. They don't get the name from the father, they get it from the mother. What a beautiful concept of acknowledging the role of the mother. Now today I promised you this would be a special session for Ammaji. For me, Ammaji has been a 3-in-1 and grew up understanding Ammaji as the Divine Mother in her maternal form. Have loved her as a mother. When it was the right time, she started teaching me so much in my life, and in the past 18 months has taught me more than she's ever taught me. And then in recent times, I'm starting to be able to see the divine through her and realize that she's not only my mother, she's not only my guru, she's also God to me. And this is why I often tell her, I say, I have loved you as a son, I have loved you as a student, and now I love you as a devotee. She's not just been a mother to me, she's been a mother to so many countless seekers on this planet. So many countless seekers. And right from the time in Kamali Swami Madam where all the children would come on Sundays, they'd come on Sundays and have the yoga class, dance class, music class, learn swimming, climb trees, and have a nice meal. Right from that time, everyone is called her Amma. And later on, as a mark of respect, we added Amma Ji to it. And also because otherwise in Tamil Nadu, it creates a confusion which Amma. Because our former chief minister was also called Amma, Jayalalitha was also called Amma. So we felt Amma Ji then enables us to know who we are talking about without any political connotations. She has been a true mother to so many, nurturing so many. And it's never been that, oh, Ananda is my son, so he will be given special preference. Every one of her children is special to her. Every one of her children. And all the students who do the 6-month course, well, they also are children to her, and sometimes a few of them are, much older. And what I really love is our Tamil Tata of Yoganjali Natyalayam, Pattabhiraman sir. He is now 90, okay? And he considers Amma as his mother. That is the beauty of this culture. It is a beauty of this culture that someone who's 90 can consider someone who's 78 as his mother and have that love. Ammaji was born far away from where she is here. In fact, it's on the other side of the planet. In South Dakota, Minnesota. Madison, South Dakota, sorry. And the eldest of 12 in a family. And her mother just recently left the body at the age of 100. So, dynamic women are part of the Thamsha family. Went to university, Minneapolis, was a cub reporter and got her linguistic skills and journalism skills. Started traveling the world and was searching something. Not sure what she was searching, but she was searching something in her early 20s. Came to Greece and found a book about yoga, a small handbook. That must have been the first time she heard about yoga. And it drew her to India. And as they came overland through Afghanistan and other regions where you could travel in those days, she says, that as I put my foot down on Indian soil, I felt I had come home. Swamiji used to often tease Amma. He used to say, your eyesight is so bad that when you were being born, you got off at a stop on the other end of the planet. You were supposed to be born in Pondicherry. In fact, he used to joke, if you put a, hole in Pondicherry and go out the other side of the globe, you would come out where she was born. And he said, you took you made the wrong stop because you couldn't see so well. He used to tease her about it. The first 25 years of her life were in America. The next period, which is now 53 years, is in India. So much, much longer in India. And I remember when she wrote a letter to the visa officer when I had gone to get my visa for my trip to the USA. And she said, I was born American and now I'm an Indian citizen. But she says, It's not that I don't love America. She said, I love America, but I love India more. And that is the way she approached it. She could, of course, be very critical of the American way of life. That's a different story altogether. She could really go into the depths of that. Coming to India, traveling in India, finally making her way down to Pondicherry, where she meets up with Swamiji. And I'm reminded of Kamban's verse in the Ramayana that when Rama and Sita meet each other the first time, they set eyes on each other for the first time. He says, you don't need to say anything because you know that you have reunited. And that is the same way I perceive Swamiji and Ammaji reuniting in Pondicherry. Annalum nokinan, avalum nokinal. What a beautiful union of the Divine Father, the Divine Mother, in my perspective. And this was thanks to our dear Rajadev, who had met Ammaji having a coffee someplace in Pondicherry, I think Indian Coffee House maybe in those days. And she said, I'm looking for some yoga. And he said, well, there's this Swami and he's starting a course soon. And so he is the one to be credited with introducing Ammaji to Swamiji. And in those days, Swamiji lived in town in a house, I think it was first or second floor. And after meeting Swamiji, as they came down the stairs, Ammaji turned to Rajadev and said, that's the man with whom I'm going to spend the rest of my life. Well, going through the training with Swamiji, at the end of the training, Swamiji would have this huge basket and students can put the Guru Dakshina in that basket. And everybody was putting flowers and fruits and other things. And Amma goes and sits inside the basket and she says, I offer my life to you forever. Well, Swamiji said, okay. And what a team. The most magnificent yoga team of the past century for sure. Coming together of amazing universal energies. And to be born to them, I have witnessed it firsthand. The amazing dynamism of Swamiji, which was connected to the universe. He was a dynamo, a universal dynamo. That was the type of energy he had. And you needed an equivalent energy to put up and catch up with him all the time, to stay up to date with him. Because for Swamiji, life was absolute intensity. Everything was important. It was a life of purpose, a life of pure samyama. Dharana, dhyana, samadhi, a life of pure samyama, where the focus was every moment on that moment in its entirety. You needed such a equivalent energy to keep up with it. And not only keep up with it, but to enable it to flourish and bring out these teachings. If today Swamiji's teachings have been codified, the absolute credit goes to Ammaji. Because she codified these teachings into a way that today we can understand and utilize. We can understand and utilize these teachings today thanks to the effort she has made. Otherwise, they would have been in a scattered form. Swamiji was a creative genius and the teachings would just sprout. And then the next day you said, what did you teach? And he'll say, I don't know. And I know that because that's how I teach. And that's how I do my stuff. If you ask me tomorrow, what did you teach yesterday? I'd have to really think about it. Imagine someone thousands of times more intense. And so she had to codify it. He would dictate these amazing teachings. She would type them up fast and furious on the typewriter. Catching All these universal teachings as they came through Swamiji. He was a vehicle for the Akashic record, the Akashi Rai, the Dharma Rai, and the teachings that flew through him from that Prajna Loka. They would just flow. He didn't keep reference manuals around and say, it would just flow through him. And as it flowed, she had to keep up with him and type. Just as the Mahabharata, when it was flowing through Veda Vyasa, Lord Ganesha was required, Sri Lekha, to write it down. Just as Lord Ganesha was the scribe to Veda Vyasa, I feel Ammaji was the scribe to Swamiji. Bringing these teachings into that solidified, codified manner that today we can all access. Teachings have been preserved because of her single woman effort. And while typing, she would be giving instructions to the cook on what should be cooked for that day. The gardener would be getting instructions on what was needed in the garden. The manager was being told what needed to be purchased. All of this going on, and in between you have Ananda coming up and, Mummy, I'm feeling hungry now. Mummy, can I go and climb a tree? You have to deal with that also. And then the villagers need this and the students need that, and a student has jumped off the roof, what to do? All this going on, managing, human resource manager, par excellence, while typing out all these universal teachings. Being a Rishi Patni of equal status and standing and capability as the Rishi himself. Being worthy of being the Rishi Patni. Much after I was born, she went to Adiyar K. Lakshman sir, our Natya Guru in Chennai, and said, I want to learn Bharatanatyam. And he's like, seriously? A woman in her mid-20s who's had a baby and now wants to learn Bharatanatyam, which most kids start when they are 5 years of age. You're about 20 years late. Meenakshi Devi, he would say. He always kept the full name. He would never say Meenakshi. He would say Meenakshi Devi. It always he kept that. Where did she get that name? Well, when Swamiji and her were at Madurai in the Meenakshi temple, she was given the Namakarana as Meenakshi Devi. Absolutely a perfect name. The warrior queen. Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhi, Prajna, Purvaka, Itaresham. The qualities that are required to attain the highest. Faith and conviction. She's had unwavering faith and conviction. Virya, the courage, the strength. Wow. Amazing what she's had. And she still has. And Miss Smriti, remembering everything as it needs to be remembered and reminding us, remember to remember, Smriti. And the capacity for Samadhi and that Prajna. Wow. Way beyond anything. And with Lakshman sir, she started training in Bharatanatyam. And what she would go up to Chennai for a few days. Imagine all this responsibility, taking a few days to go to Chennai, learn as much as possible from him, come back to Pondicherry and start teaching it to all the thousands of village kids free. Because she loved every kid as her own. What an amazing embodiment of perseverance. Never giving up. Lakshman sir used to admire that quality in Ammaji. When talking about me, he used to remember me climbing up trees. That was always the big memory he used to talk about. But with Ammaji, that commitment, the fidelity, the perseverance, the endurance, the stickability, the ability to stick to what you have decided to do and not give up. Once Swamiji had his accident and broke his back and was in the hospital, and for the months on end where he was in the bed cast, suddenly Ammaji had to start teaching all the classes, because till then Swamiji was doing it. And suddenly she had to teach the morning Hatha Yoga, the mid-morning Pranayama, the afternoon classes, the evening classes. Swamiji used to give a few of the satsangas lying down in his bed cast. She had to go out and do the banking, which Swamiji was doing earlier, running out the ashram in a more predominant manner. Rose to the occasion. Rose to the occasion completely. And then, as if this wasn't enough, the Pondicherry government illegally decides to take over Sri Kamli Swami Madam Ananda Ashram. Come in one fine day in the mid of August and paste a government order saying this is government property. Imagine you have spent your life building up this institution. You have brought great fame and name to Puducherry. Thousands of people have come to this sacred space, and some officer signs a government order, a GO, and pastes it. They come up and Swamiji is in the bedroom and they say, you are trespassing on government property, we arrest you. Ammaji had gone to town on her scooter. She was the first woman to ride a scooter in Pondicherry. And everybody knows her as the woman in, the woman in a sari on a scooter. You talk about feminism today. Think about it 50 years ago. A woman riding a scooter in Pondicherry with a sari. She was an inspiration. She is an inspiration to countless young women who say, I want to be like her. Ammaji had gone to town. She comes back, the gates are locked and the policeman says, this is government property, you cannot enter. Imagine. No notice, nothing. Totally illegal. Against every version of human rights. People talk about human rights. They were destroyed. The human rights were trampled on that day. Anybody else would have said, I give up. Go back to the USA. Go out of this country that treats us so badly. No. She and Swamiji fought the good battle. And more than Swamiji, it was Ammaji. She used to go to Chennai, meet the lawyers, sit hours with the lawyers, drafting our cases. Go to Delhi to the Supreme Court lawyers, draft the cases. She is the only one who knew the in and out of everything. Drafting it with the legal advisors, giving them the perspective. At the same time, continuing to teach, continuing to share. Now in Rainbow Nagar, where we had to go and stay in a rented house. And then as ICY have developed, coming here and continuing it, continuing the battle. At one point in the battle, from Kamli Swami Madam, she had to jump off the top floor. And to this day, I attribute that injury as being the core injury for her hip that then started acting up about 10 years ago. Without vindictiveness, I would like to say the takeover of Kamli Swami Madam and the subsequent illegal activities of the government of Pondicherry, they took away at least a couple of decades of life of my father and a couple of decades of good health and life of my mother. People who are giving so much to this country. Oh my God. How they were treated. And yet, do you think they cursed the government? Well, the government, some of the people definitely got a few curses. Did they curse the country? No. Her love for India was so strong. In 1991, when she was given the Indian citizenship, and they received that order from Mr. Vijayan, who was the collector at that time, she said, this is the happiest day in my life to receive Indian citizenship. The first day when she put foot on India, she felt she came home. And in 1991, when she got her citizenship, till now she says, the happiest day in my life. The embodiment of femininity as understood in Indian culture. Dignity. What a role model. What a role model. Anybody would have become bitter. Anybody would have given up. But she kept persevering. That is Ammaji. That is why she is Puduvai Shakti. Later on, the government honors her with the highest artistic award of the Kalaimamani, awarded by the Pondicherry government, the Yoga Mani by Government of India. She is nominated to the National Board for Yoga and Naturopathy in the Ministry of Ayush. She is nominated to the Central Council for Yoga. All of this comes. It comes. Today is acknowledged as one of the leading lights of the whole yoga world. And her ability to express this, the Rishi and the Rakshasa, and that book tells you the whole story of her time in India. The first 50 years of her life in India are in that book. And how India has changed in that time. How India has changed in that time. And exploring all those emotions, the turmoil of emotions, and the light at the end of the tunnel, as she and Swamiji went through this whole process of burning up karma. Ammaji used to always identify with Kunti. Kunti is the mother of the Pandavas. And Kunti was also the maternal aunt for Lord Krishna. And once Krishna asks Kunti, he says, Aunt, dear Aunt Kunti, he says, I would like to give you a boon. She knows Krishna is the divine. He says, I want to give you a boon. You can ask me anything you want and I will grant it. And you know what she chose to ask? Perpetual adversity, which means, may I always have troubles. Perpetual adversity. That is the boon Kunti Devi asks Lord Krishna. Krishna's study is like, seriously, you could have asked anything you want in the universe and you ask me that you should always have troubles, always face challenges in life. And she says, yes, Krishna. She says, if everything goes well, I will never remember you. But if I keep on having problems, I'll always remember you. Because it is only when we have problems we remember God, we remember the divine. I think Ammaji and Swamiji's life has been like that. Challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge. To burn away the karma and keep the focus on the highest divinity manifesting through yoga. This is why this modern attitude of selling yoga, plasticized Barbie doll yoga. People say, why does Dr. Ananda get so angry about it? Because I'm so passionate about it. My parents have lived for it. I live for it. And you want to sell us plastic? Go find a different market and go to Mars on that one-way flight if you want. Every challenge that came, she has faced it and grown stronger, grown wiser, sharing with so many such astonishing level of teaching. The clarity of Ammaji's teachings is unparalleled. And her greatest contribution, for which she will always be remembered, is her History of Yoga, Volume 1 and 2. Nobody, I tell you, nobody has documented it that way. Because either people have gone to this extreme or that extreme, especially the modern yoga scholars, God bless them, who are out to break down yoga in the reductionist perspective. We are not here to break down yoga. We are not here to destroy yoga. We are here to love, share yoga in an unconditional manner, within its context. And her History of Yoga traces the seeds of yoga. People have got stuck with the roots of yoga, the seeds of yoga that start when life started. Yoga is as ancient as life. Because the moment life began, duality started to come in. And the moment duality came in, the technique, the technology of going back to that unitiveness, that oneness had to begin. And that is why the teachings of yoga, the principles of yoga are as ancient as life itself. And people want to put it a couple of thousand years ago and then credit God knows what. What a reductionist attitude. That will be for another day's talk. Today's about Ammaj. Her history of yoga puts it in its context. What is the context of yoga? What is the context in which yoga manifests its wholesomeness? The Purna Avatara of yoga, the complete wholesome manifestation of yoga. That is what she has brought together. With the ups and the downs, with the ins and the outs. And that is why for me, her codification of Swamiji's teachings, her putting together of the history of yoga, her documentation of the Rishi and the Rakshasas as a fictional story based on the whole Kamli Swami Madam sad affair that still continues. We are still trying to find a way out of it. And yet, she never broke down. Anybody who's known her, anybody who's been with her will understand her strength. And not only her strength, her love that was unconditional for each and every one of her children, all her children, all her spiritual children. That is why she is truly the mother. That's why Matru Deva Bhava. It's been 1 year since she had her stroke. People say, you are a doctor. Yeah. Amma's perspective of modern medicine is not a good one. I used to wonder, why did you send me to medical school, But she understood that the coming together, the integration of modern medical science and yoga had to happen. You could never get her to go to the hospital. Many years ago, when she had her first health issue, she kept on pushing. Until finally we could get her to the hospital. But sometimes I wonder whether the surgery done at that time for the sepsis led to her future problems. You never know. And I remember when she had that stroke and we wanted to get her to the hospital, she's like, no. I respect her wishes. I respect her ideals. And that's why it's been a tough year. It's been a tough year because to see someone who did everything now having to just be. She's moved from that doing to being. I keep on talking about that. The process of yoga is doing to being. I see that in her life now. She's moved from the doing to that being. And in the past years taught me more than the previous 49 years of my life. Because she's showing me the essence of what spirituality is. The essence of what universality is. And the essence of what yoga is, truly. Our conversations have been Zen. Our conversations are Zen. I go to her and I say, I'm totally lost, Ma. I really don't know what to do. What should I do? Well, and she says, give up. I'm like, give up? You who have never given up in your life telling me to give up? And she says, give up and give over. That is the peak of Bhakti Yoga, the peak of Ishvara Pranidhana. And many times she has expressed it over the last few years that through her sadhana of the Hatha Yoga, the Raja Yoga, the Jnana Yoga, everything, she said, I've come to understand Bhakti Yoga is the peak. Bhakti Yoga is the peak. Beautiful messages coming through her at this point. Beautiful teachings. And as I tease her, she is a living clock. She doesn't need to have a clock. She knows the time of day irrespective of anything. And if I'm not there at 8:15 in the morning before I go to work, where is he? Why is he not here yet? If I'm not back by 2:15 from work and in time for lunch, where is he? Why is he not here? The other day I remember, because our university is going through a lot of accreditation issues, so we have a lot of work we have to do to get ready for it. I come back a little later and I ask her, I say, how are you? And she says, I am fine now that you are back. And 7 o'clock in the evening, go and sing for her for 45 minutes. If it's 7:05, where are you? Amazing. She doesn't need a clock. She says, you are 5 minutes late. And then I look at the clock, it's exactly 5 minutes late. That is how connected she is to just everything. She may just seem like she's lying there in bed, but amazing interconnectivity. And every morning when I meet her, I say, Ammaji, I'm here with your morning Naivedyam. Naivedyam is the offering to the divine, to God. Then you have it as prasad. And what is that Naivedyam and prasad? It is a small piece of chocolate. So every day the chocolate is the morning prasadam, which she enjoys. And that's why I tease her that you have become the goddess of chocolate. She likes that, the goddess of chocolate. And then when I come home at lunch, ice cream. And what ice cream? Vanilla ice cream. So she is a goddess of chocolate and vanilla ice cream. And the beautiful divinity that's shining through her. Amma used to often tell us, dhyanam, meditation. People said, what is it? She said, well, nobody is perfect. And we all know that. Nobody is perfect. She said, in that state of meditation, in the state of dhyanam, we become nobody. We move from being somebody to becoming nobody. And in that moment, we become Purnam, perfect. What a beautiful, beautiful teaching, that as long as we want to be somebody, as long as we want to have this individuality, as long as we want to be me, we will not have that state of dhyanam, we will not have that state of samadhi. It is only when we move from being somebody to becoming nobody that this universal experience can be there. And now she is living that experience. And when I look at her eyes, initially I talked about Lord Krishna opening his mouth, and Yashoda sees the whole universe. The reverse is true now. When I look into her eyes, I see the whole universe. That is the state of yoga. And that is why for me she is embodying that state every moment. What an amazing example of what we can be. What an amazing example of how to be what we can be. What a wonderful example of sharing and caring with unconditional love. All of that in Ammaji. And it's not just because she's my mother. As I told you, it's a three-dimensional relationship. As a son to his mother, yes, we used to have disagreements. Quite a few. But as a student to the teacher, as a shishya to the guru, I have never been able to disagree with her. Because I've realized that her perspective is not just bird's eye, it is satellite perspective. I've often talked about growing spiritually and growing in your perspective. So like the drone going above and you see things and then you have the bird's eye view. Amma's is satellite perspective. It's like she can see the whole Google Earth with all of us and zoom into different parts of the planet and know what we are all doing. And it's just so astonishing how she knows exactly what each person needs in that present moment. I have been astounded by it. Astounded by it. And that is why I felt that this Saturday I would use this morning to express these thoughts about Ammaji and that concept of Matru Devo Bhava, Mother as God. And this is not just a hero worshipping. This is an understanding that when people are with us, we should value them. Too often we value people after they have left us. Too often. So many people in human history have not been valued when they were still on this planet. We need to realize how we can value people, such amazing beings when they are still with us. Before it is too late, can we have that value? Can we have that love? Can we have that respect? Can we have that kritagnya, that gratitude? So important. That is how the dynamism of life comes. That is how growth becomes a dynamic, mindful, evolutionary process. And this is why, as Appu has just typed in, we refer to Ammaji as the living Siddha of Pondicherry. Pondicherry is blessed with countless Siddhas, having done their tapasya here, a tapo bhumi, a Siddha bhumi. And Ammaji, as one of the most amazing Siddhas of Pondicherry, originally called Vedapuri, the city of the Vedas, Puducherry, Puduvai, Ten Puduvai, the new city on the southern horizon, Ten Puduvai, as the living Siddha, manifesting these teachings, the highest level of teachings, with such love, such compassion. May we always be grateful. May we be grateful. And let us keep Ammaji in our hearts, our minds, as she celebrates her 78th birthday on Monday. And we will be having some events tomorrow. Divya is organizing. And then we'll be having the special Homa done by our Raja Shastrigal on Monday morning. And Monday evening, Sangeeta is organizing a get-together for chanting for Ammaji. So be part of all of these activities, be in contact with us, be part of it. And may we all be blessed by Ammaji's most amazing divine blessings. Om लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु सर्वे जनाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ Thank you so much. Shukriya, Dhanyavadah. Nandri, Vanakkam, Ayubovan, Danke. That's it. See you all later. Ciao. Adios. Nandri, Vanakkam.